64 Tacos Podcasts presents Is This Song Good? This is episode 22. Joe Cocker with a little help from my friends.
Hello and welcome back to the newest episode of Is This Song Good? A 64 Tacos podcast. We've been covering cover songs, and this week we're going to talk about the song With a Little Help from My Friends, which was originally written by the Beatles and covered very famously by Joe Cocker. This one I've been listening to about 30 seconds of at the beginning of every episode of The Wonder Years for the last few weeks as my family's been going through the show on Hulu. And I thought it'd be a fun one to do. For me, I came to the song first through the Wonder Years theme song at the beginning, and then realized once I actually got into music that it was a Beatles song. And I think I like the Joe Cocker version better, but there is something wonderfully simple about the Beatles version. What do you guys think?
I definitely like the Joe Cocker one better. It's a mid-level Beatles song at best, I think. It's kind of a fun, we get to hear Ringo sing. But
a mid-level Beatles song is still a top-tier song.
It's true. It's true. But the vocals are greatly improved, I think. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a simple, Ringo song, vocally speaking. All the Ringo songs are good. They're fine to listen to. But I think there's something special about doing like the Blue-Eyed Soul over the top. And the arrangement brings drama to the song that I think really elevates the lyrics even from being a fun little song to being sort of like an epic barn burner. I also think that I saw I first heard it as the intro to Wonder Years, but I also remember back when I was a teenager seeing the live version from Woodstock. The first time I saw Joe Cocker dance while he sings, his weird his weird motions and expressions and stuff, and that's an amazing version, despite the lack of female backup singers, which is a little sad. But his performance on that version is just amazing. So yeah, I definitely like the Joe Cocker version better. Often the Beatles version's better than the cover, but in this case, I think for me, it's just one of the better covers that I've ever heard. I think it really elevates the song.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you guys. I agree. I think the Beatles wrote a great song. I don't think that they executed it quite as well as they wrote it. What I mean by that is it just feels that like there's something missing, or it's I can't quite tell. I tried to really put my finger on it, and I think that the best thing I can get to is like the drums feel kind of pedestrian and like really just static with that. It's like the 1-2-1-2 thing going on in the chorus, and I think that's when Joe Cocker gets a hold of it and makes it his own. I think that the extra, like the way that the instruments kind of build and change throughout, how it starts off kind of soft and simple, and I think it's great use of dynamics, and starting out quiet and kind of like getting more and more epic as the song goes on. The Beatles version, it's not like it's bad, it's not like I'm going to say, oh no, I don't ever want to listen to that song. It's just when you put them side by side, there's just so much more like raw feeling in the Joe Cocker version. And yeah, I also heard it first on Wonder Years and didn't even know that it was a Beatles song until way later. And so I'm sure that helped it because it solidified it in my mind as being the de facto song, But yeah, no, I think the backing vocals are really great and necessary. Like I think they add so much to it. It's better than the backing that the Beatles did.
Yeah, and I think you hit on exactly what it is. The Beatles are incredible songwriters,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't necessarily perform. And Dylan has this too.
Yeah,
They don't necessarily perform their songs the best.
yeah,
Like there are many versions of Beatles songs and Dylan songs that are so much better by the person covering the song
yeah.
because they take an incredibly well crafted song and just put so much of their own personal emotion into it that
Mhm.
just makes it something special.
Yeah, the Beatles were so good, but they were also like prolific, and I think that was kind of like a downfall for them because they were just constantly churning out stuff, and I think they were doing it so fast that sometimes you would have these really great songs that they just kind of like whipped it out in the
In the back.
yeah.
No, man, you gotta.
Yeah. Yeah. Just cranking through stuff in the studio.
Well,
And
yeah,
some of it is like magical and it's wonderful. And some of it's just like, it's okay.
yeah.
But then for someone to come along like Joe Cocker and just say, hey, I could do something with this. And then he does, and he follows through and it's great. And it elevates it way beyond the original.
And it's interesting. I think in many cases you're right, Dave, that the Beatles or Bob Dylan, the bones are really good, and then sometimes someone can come along and really sort of expand on it. But sometimes the Beatles version is clearly the best version. Like what version of Hey Jude have you heard that compares to McCartney's vocal?
Oh,
Um,
of course, yeah,
so yeah,
yeah.
I think it
There's no.
depends to some extent. Yeah.
There is a reason that they are
Yeah.
recording artists and not just songwriters, producers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs is Eleanor Rigby, and I've heard several covers of it, and none of them could
Yeah.
even get close to what the Beatles did.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just the unconventional, recording of that song, and basically people try to. I feel like sometimes people try to. I don't know, take it away from just being essentially, a little orchestral piece, and that's maybe where it goes wrong because it's a bit of an odd song, but yeah. So sometimes you're absolutely right. Someone comes along, and in the great, Beatles or Stones debate, I think I was talking to Charles about this a while back. He's a Stones guy all the way because he hates the silly gimmicky songs that the Beatles have. Hates is maybe a strong word, but like the fact that the Beatles have Yellow Submarine and I Am the Walrus, and to some extent this song, it's a bit of a lark. They're just kind of screwing around, and I think for some people that sort of like you talked about how prolific they were and how they were just cranking stuff out. Sometimes they were just like, oh, this is pretty good. All right, good enough. We'll put a bouncy Paul McCartney bass line. We'll do the straightforward drums, nothing special, no big solos, a little bit of vocal harmony. That's always good, and yeah, good enough. Let's go on to the next thing. Yeah, it feels like they didn't like spend a lot of time trying to make that song the best it could be. They sometimes do that, but then other times, they don't. And I think, like you were saying, Zach, there's something about the dynamics and the arrangement, and I feel like opening up the palette of the instruments, like having the organ come in at the beginning, really pushing the electric guitar forward, and then drawing it all back down to even more sparse than the Beatles arrangement before exploding. That all on top of having one of the great rock vocal performances ever, in my opinion. I don't know how much better it gets than that. Than Joe Cocker's singing on that version, especially the big scream.
Oh yeah.
3/4 of the way through. Like it's just it's just amazing. I just feel like he is like let's just try to make this song the biggest, baddest, most amazing version of the song possible, and it's almost unrecognizable. When you hear the Beatles version, you're like, oh, I guess it's the same lyrics, and
Yeah.
There's some melodic, similarities, but it takes a huge left turn. It fills your preference of doing something very different from the original, and I think that's really works in its favor.
Absolutely.
It feels like Joe Cocker came in and said, "This is my song now."
Yeah.
Because it just feels like he took it over and did his own thing, and it worked. It worked really well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I will. Every time that song comes on, I'm cranking it up. I'm in for it. I mean, it's one of those songs that exists in the popular consciousness a lot. It's in Wonder Years, and you hear it on like classic rock radio. It's not like it begs for more attention. It's just there all the time. But even so, I never get tired of it. That's just a fantastic song.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my vote is the song is good and it is better than the original.
Yep.
Same. Yep.
All right. What do we have next week, Dan?
So next week we're going to do a Jack White version of a U2 song, "Love Is Blindness."
All right. Excellent.
Okay.
I caught it on audio.